Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike, and today we are going to tackle a bit of a fun topic. We're talking about the thrill of the hunt or the acquisition. Which one is better, buying the watch or finding the watch? As always, I'm joined by my co-host Joe in the OC. Joe, how you doing today?
That's better. That's better. It is a slow morning here on the West Coast because
Is it how you're recovering? You had a
well,
competition.
yeah, we had competition. Got home relatively late yesterday. Band competition tends to go all day, and yeah, so slow morning, late night. My feet hurt.
Is this the first one of the season?
First one of the season. Yeah.
How'd you
Number
guys fare?
one. 5 more to go. 6 more to go. I forget.
Yeah. Well, how'd they do?
Second. We got second place.
Well, that's not a bad way to kick off the season.
And now when you got a 6-point spread.
If you're not first, you're last.
Right.
The harsh truth, I guess.
I'm okay with second place. I'd just much rather not had a 6-point spread. That's all. So,
Well, that's okay.
and he's like,
Now you know where.
somebody said they were really good, and you're all right. Out of everybody else, you were better. I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
You're a vision of positivity this morning, Joe.
When you have your first competition and it blew up the way that ours did, real easy to fix. We can fix a lot of that. So,
Oh, well, there you go. If it's easy stuff, then you should be golden for next time.
shut up, Mike.
I'm trying. I'm trying to save the kids here. I'm trying to save the kids.
Yeah, I don't know. The kids will be fine. They don't know any better.
They'll survive, huh?
No, well, something.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. What do you wrist and drinks? You go first because I'm wearing one of my new watches. So
I
I'll
am drinking. I am drinking from the Sterling Vintners collection, a Merlot. Jason, watch rolling. Good choice here. I think you can probably find this in your neck of the woods. Not bad. Fruit forward.
Okay.
So, good bite. Great nose. Fantastic wine. And because I had to do the competition, I had to skip arm day. So today I have got on.
That's
I don't
right.
even need to zoom in. You can see it from there.
No,
I
but
have
hold
on
it up right. Let's get the profile view.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
The Invicta Hydromax, the GMT, let's not forget, with a Swiss movement, all Swiss construction, 65 millimeters of it, and 3,300 feet worth of water resistance. So,
awesome.
I can feel the burn.
I see that. What
do you got? You got stuff, right?
I got stuff real quick. Did you and Jason do your guys' wine episode that you were talking about?
No, we haven't. We're gonna do that after band is over. So right around Thanksgiving, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
See if we can put something together.
You guys talked about it at least, though.
Oh yeah, we've discussed. Oh,
okay.
And then so he has a Costco near him, so we should be able to get access to that. There's Total Wine. There's a couple of others, and I may send him some stuff that I can get locally.
So how is this going to go, real quick? I'm interested. I'm not taking any part in this because I am not a wine connoisseur by any stretch.
How's it going to go?
Is there are you guys setting a price limit? You buying from the same store?
The idea is to get the same wine.
Oh, you have to get the same wine.
We're gonna get the same wine, and we're gonna drink it, and probably drink the whole bottle on the episode. So it may go downhill as we go. I don't know. I'll probably drink the whole bottle. His mileage may vary.
I'll tell you what. Just send me the invite for that meeting, and I'll just sit. I won't turn my screen on or anything. I just want to be part of it as it unfolds. I don't know if I can wait for that episode to come out. That's going to be a good one.
Well, I don't know that you have to work that hard to imagine what it's like. I typically drink a bottle while we're filming these, so
yeah,
you kind of know what it's like. You know what to expect.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'll go next. Being out,
Yeah, because there's nobody
I'm
else. It's got
I'm
to be you.
second. I'm second, which, as we just found out, really doesn't mean anything. So I made my own homemade bourbon sangria.
Bourbon sangria.
A bourbon sangria. It's a very easy recipe. I bought a bottle of sangria. I muddled some blackberries, and I put frozen blackberries in it, and then I put a shot and a half of bourbon in it, and just a little bit of Grand Marnier for a little bit of the orange liqueur flavor, and it is fantastic. It's strong, but it's fantastic.
So it's a bottle of store-bought sangria.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is delicious.
And then muddled blackberries. That actually does sound pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay. What bourbon did you
because
use?
the Evan Williams that's here that you
The
bought,
100 proof?
the 100 proof.
Yeah, you're having a
That's what I'm
good
saying.
time.
That's what I'm saying. It's strong. Between
Wow.
that, whatever's in the sangria, and the Grand Marnier, all three of those, it's going to be. If I
Wow.
finish
Good
that
for
cup,
you.
it's going to be fun.
Florida Mike stepping up his game.
But the bourbon in this really deepens the flavor. It brings out a lot of the flavor notes in it.
I would have never thought to throw that into a sangria. Normally, like you
You
use
know
a
what,
neutral
though?
spirit.
So
Vodka is real common for that.
went out to brunch, and the place that we went to screwed up my Bloody Mary. Like, how hard is it to screw up a Bloody Mary? Ordered a second one. Then they came back and said, well, we ran out of all the pre-fixed ingredients for one. So it's going to be a while before I said, well, just forget it. That's fine. I said, we'll order something else. We'll comp it for you. They had a bourbon sangria on the menu. I said, I'll try that. It sounds interesting. And it was good. And theirs was a little bit more homemade, where this is just, the sangria out of bottles.
Yeah.
So if you made it, with the red wine and the fruits and all that, it'd
Baby,
probably be
baby.
a little more.
Mike's drinking a bourbon sangria.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to. She's skeptical. I do the homemade sangrias, and we'll do that. We'll do that a lot. Sangria is a very fun and common thing in our house. So Bourbon
next time
sangria.
you do it,
yeah,
put some bourbon in it and try it and see.
see where the wheels are turning. The wheels are turning. Like she can concede that this might be a plus. I think definitely with berries more so than maybe stone fruit. But yeah,
Yeah, with berries.
Okay.
If I put some strawberries in here, that would probably taste a little bit better. It's just got the blackberries in it. That's all I had. I grabbed it real quick from the store, but it works. It's good. Yeah.
All right, I'm in.
So I have 3 new watches.
It's been a
2
big
that
week
are
for Mike.
very recent acquisitions in the last week, and one that I completely forgot to talk about. The first one, I'm going to try this again. We're going to do the screen share so everybody can see what I've got going on here. All right. And it's coming up. You see it there? So this is the first one. This is what I'm actually wearing. This is my Timex Dynabeat. Now, I don't know how to date these watches other than it's from the 70s.
Well, normally you take them out for a nice dinner, but you would start with go to a coffee shop, so that way the watch can leave early if they need to, and there's no skin off anybody's back if the relationship doesn't work out.
So the bourbon sangria is a little too strong for dating, initial dating. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just giving you what I read. That's all.
Okay. So from the 70s, my guess is probably early 70s-ish. The Dynabeats are the transistorized version of the Timex electric watches.
Not quartz though, right?
It's not a quartz one.
Right. It's different. And this is the kicker when it comes to these electric.
We're gonna get into that in a second here. But this is the electric. The transistorized still has the balance wheel. It's the transistorized driven balance wheel. So it does tick. It's like 3 or 4 ticks per second, that sweep seconds hand. But to find one of these in this condition, but one that still runs.
It's working.
It works. It actually runs a little bit fast. But like we're talking a minute or 2 over the course of 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But it's not bad at all. Yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool. Every time I post this, it gets a lot of comments, a lot of likes, and people really like this
Well,
one.
I mean, everything about it has got that sort of 70s look. You've got it. So it's actually a fume dial, right? It's not
Yeah.
fade. That's not patina. Okay, so it's a
No, it's
fume
an
dial.
actual Fume dial.
You've got the red markers on it. You've got the loom plots for the yeah, and then what? So is it a white bezel? Is it a steel bezel? What's the bezel?
It's aluminum is my guess. So, steel
But
colored.
so polished, but it's not painted.
It's not painted. It's not like it doesn't have the sticker over, an aluminum bezel.
No
It's
decal,
it's
right?
it's stamped. So, my Timex World Time reissue,
Right.
the case, it's a 1-to-1 case.
No kidding, really.
Yeah. So they did an excellent job with the modern reissues keeping the original size. You put them right next to each other and they're
and that
identical.
is straight up like a 70s case, that chunky, and it's relatively thick too. There's beveling slightly, and there's not really any taper. You got those deep in lugs. What is it on a 18?
20.
20?
Yeah,
Man.
it's a 20. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. So this is the one that I've had this for a few weeks now.
Yeah, you haven't talked about it though. I mean, I
and
remember when you talked
just
about giving
completely forgot to talk about it. So moving on, my next new watch. Speaking of Timex, let me zoom in here a little bit. This is the Q Timex, the 1979 iconic Q Timex. This is the quartz-driven version. Quartz oscillator-driven
did they have a
balance
mechanical
wheel.
version of that?
They did a reissue in a mechanical version.
Right, but so the original wasn't, and it wasn't like it was a pin lever or anything like that, right?
To the best of my knowledge, you're looking at the only one they made.
Okay.
So this, I like vintage Timex. It's no secret. I adore vintage Timex. They are just as quirky and good of a design as the Bulvas and Caravels were of the same era. They were really competitors in the same space back in the 70s.
The design language is really solid. I agree with you.
So I don't know, and I'll be the first one to admit, a lot about the mechanical history behind these watches. So I'm learning as I'm acquiring these. But to the best of my knowledge, this one that we're looking at, the Pepsi bezel, the Q Timex, the quartz, it was just a straight quartz movement. Now, quartz oscillator driven balance wheel. So it still does have a sweep seconds hand. It doesn't have the 1 second tick. It does sweep, which I think is a cool way to do it back in the 70s. But much like what the Dynabeat is the day date, the large day date windows. This I've seen, it's really hard to find these Q Timexes, these Pepsi ones. They don't come up very often for sale. They don't come up in condition like this. This thing it looks brand new. I've seen them both with the fat hands like we see here, and I've seen them with the quote unquote Mercedes style hands like what the Q reissue has.
So that must have been a later iteration.
So probably 2 different production years, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. But this one, man, a local guy was selling this watch. He didn't really know where to price it. I didn't know what to offer him. I made an offer and said, I'm comfortable at this number, but I feel like I'm kind of selling you a little short. I said, I cannot find any comps online anywhere to even gauge where we're at. So you may be getting shorted. I may be paying more, but I'm comfortable at this price. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather sell it to you. You can have it. So I absolutely love this thing. It is awesome. Really cool. All right. Here's the big one. Here's the controversial one.
Hey, look at that. It's blue.
We have the Yama Yachting Graph in blue.
In blue.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the original strap that it comes on, right? That.
So the blue with the white stitching, that is the original strap. And
Okay.
it's a nice strap. It's kind of a waxed leather
Yeah.
textured strap. It's not the worst. It's not the best. It suits the watch well. There's better options out there. So I'll go to the next photo, and this is, hold on, not that one. This one here, this is the strap that I bought for it that's on it right now. It's a suede beige, what would you call it? Like a perforated racing quote unquote strap type look to it.
Is that a Florida thing?
It's a me thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can get away with it being on leather because it's not a diver, right, Joe?
It's your watch, man. You can wear it however you want. I'm going to comment. That's all I'm saying.
I would expect nothing less. I'm a happy guy. I'm glad I bought this one. I do like it better than the white dial. And as I skipped past, here is the photo of the two side by
Zoom
side.
in on that. So, okay, let's talk about the reason for your choice. And your initial response is the fact that, okay, you couldn't tell that it was a big eye, and the white dial sucks up the sub dials, and you can't see it quite as well, and it doesn't show up. And to be honest, for that reason, I prefer the white. I'm not a fan of the big eye. I don't like the asymmetry of it. And that's my aesthetic. It makes it look like Peter Cushing from Top Secret. And that just, that bugs me. Grand Moff Tarkin shouldn't have a big eye. I'm just saying. So I've got my reasons. They're well thought out, but I get what you're saying about it. I get the reasons that you've made the choices that you have. I don't disagree with it from your aesthetic. It is not the choices that I would make, but I also live in California for a reason. So,
well, the white dial is very California too.
It is, but it's like there've been a couple of the Abercrombie and Fitch Hoyer solar lunars that have shown up recently that have a similar color scheme, and that just irritates you. So, and I'd much rather have the solar lunar, if I'm being honest.
But you can see, so from and I use it loosely from a functional standpoint. And the reason why I say loosely is because while this is marketed as a yacht timer, as a regatta timer, it's a setup as a 60-minute subdial and not a 30-minute subdial like it should be. So it's harder to measure the 5-minute increments.
Right, but it's also a mecha quartz movement, right?
Yeah, it's a mecha quartz movement.
Right. So, and I think that when you are hampered by the movement, that's the issue, because the movement is driving the spec.
And I agree with that completely. However, for them to use that movement to keep this at the $369 price point, I'm more than okay with that, because it makes this accessible, where if you were to buy a vintage Yama Yachting Graph, you're paying 10 times more.
Sure.
Okay. So this makes it's a fun take on the vintage watch. So as a yacht timer, the blue is more traditional. The subdials are broken up. It is the big eye like the originals were. It's easier to read.
Yeah.
So like I was explaining before, some of the complaints that I had were, like you said, the white dial absorbs, the outlines of the subdials. But look at the difference in the 6 o'clock running seconds.
Oh, no, you can see it. I get the legibility thing, and it's also not yellow. So I understand.
It's not yellow. You and the yellow.
Dude.
Basically what it is the blue dial is the everyday wear, and the white one is what you wear on the weekends to brunch. Is what it boils down to. They each have their place. They both look fantastic. They just serve a different purpose, even though it's the exact same watch.
You know what? All right. You're trying to sell the white dial, correct?
Yes.
All right. When it doesn't sell, send it to me for a week.
Let me live with it
for a week.
I'll just send it to you. It doesn't not have to sell. I'll mail it out to you, and you can wear it.
Send it to me. Let me live with it for a week, And if it sells, I'll ship it to whoever.
Okay, fair
Fair?
enough. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll do
There you
that.
go.
I'll
You heard
send
it
that.
here
And
first.
then you can get a fair take on it then.
I don't, and it's what we've said forever. You got to wear it. You got to put it on.
Yeah.
Like this Invicta, it's awful, but it's so bad. It's so bad that it's actually good. And anytime I bring it to a watch meetup, people are like, I kind of like it. I'm like, I know you kind of like it, which nicely segues us into our topic of the day, which is
That's right. Yeah, we have a topic, don't we? I forgot about that.
which is the acquisition, or the hunt. Like, what is it like when you actually like? Should you meet your idols? It's a good question.
It's a good question, and it can go multiple ways. Okay, I'll start it off because
your topic. I was going to say
we're talking the yachting graph, and I have admired yacht timers, and I have wanted one for a long time. They are, like I mentioned, are very expensive if you buy, the vintage versions of them. When Yema announced they were doing this version of the yachting graph, I got extremely excited because it's at a fantastic price point. And
but it's Mecha Quartz too. So I mean, it's not like that's. I have a quibble with Mecha Quartz, considering what the other options are, and if they weren't stuck on something, like they could have gone with a seagull movement, and they could have had some other issue. I don't know, but anyway.
Well, and they could have. They could have, because Yema has done a 2-register version of the yachting graph, so they could have replicated that one. But they chose to go this route, and I'm okay with the Mecha Quartz. It really doesn't bother me. The running seconds is small enough where you don't notice the individual tick, but you get the nice mechanical sweep and the instantaneous reset functions that you love to see when you're operating a mechanical chronograph. The first version that I saw that they put out was the white dial with the lighter color palette. And I really liked it. In pictures, it looks great. In person, it looks great. But when I bought it and lived with it for a little bit, it was like one of those don't meet your hero type situations.
Right.
And that's why I ended up buying the other one.
Speaking as the observer, it was really funny to watch you fall in and out of love with that in real time. I enjoyed that
in real time.
I thought that was wonderful. Okay.
But there's been other instances. I personally, could you say that I'm addicted to the thrill of the hunt? I love trying to figure out the next watch I'm going to buy. I like the research that's involved in it, learning about the history of the watch or the different variations, if there is any. I like trying to find the best deal for it. And I'm talking, when I'm talking about this, I'm speaking, reference to like vintage watches.
I understand what you're saying now, and the only quibble that I have with that as a description of yourself is this sudden Timex kick, because we're talking about watches that you really don't know much about. You don't have the history of it. You don't have, but particularly if we compare that to what you did looking at the Yema or what you did looking at the Jetstars. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
So the Timexes are impulse. The Dynabeat that I'm wearing was actually a gift, so I didn't actually buy this one.
Right.
So this was just
it fell into your lap.
It fell into my lap, exactly. So I didn't know it was coming. I didn't have the time to research it or anything like that. I've seen them before. I know they exist. The Pepsi Bezel Q Timex is one that I know a little more about as far as the history goes, because I own the reissue version of it, the one that came out in 2019. So I know a little bit more about that one, but I've been so busy in collecting Bulivas that I never put a lot of time into Timex. But and what I was explaining to you and Oliver not that long ago was, I'm very happy with where my Bulova collection is right now. And I just need to, I guess, focus my hunt energy somewhere else. And right now, that just happens to be vintage Timex.
Well, but that brings up another interesting point, and you've hit kind of the way that I want to talk about this subject, because you brought up the fact that, okay, if I get it for a good price, and that's part of the interest when it comes to, because there's a difference between searching for the same watch at a good price versus the Grail watch. And the Grail watch is, when we've talked about this a couple of times, the Grail watch is something that's a different animal. It's harder to find, and it's part of the mystique of the watch is how difficult it is to get one. Not that they aren't readily available, not blah blah blah, whatever the issue may be. A lot of the watches that you and I are looking at are looking for, they are available, but they're available at a price point that is ludicrous, pie in the sky, awfully optimistic, right? And it's when you can get a valuation that works well to try to fill in your collection and everything that goes along with that, right? We've got friends that are in the sourcing business. There's people that we've had on the show that have been able to source watches, and that's part of their livelihood. Anything is obtainable for a price. Whether or not you can find that obscure, hard to find, whatever, that becomes more of the interest, and that to me is more interesting part of the hunt. So,
and part of it is the average age of yours in my collection is 50 years, give or take a year or two. Okay. These watches, when they were new, were appropriately priced, some on the pricey side, for the early 70s, others not so much. And a lot of these just got worn and used and banged around. And when they were done, they got thrown in a drawer with a bunch of other stuff and it rattled around in there. So part of the thrill of the hunt is to find the best version of these, which aren't always out there. You can find versions of, and let's just, off the top of my head, a Bull of a wrist alarm, right? You can find them; they are out there, but it's finding the right one. It's finding the one in the best condition at the best price.
The Hoyer chronograph,
the Hoyer chronograph,
right? Same concept, same idea. That they're, and again, it goes down to the thing, like, that's available. It's an available watch, and if you are willing to pay what the seller knows that they have, yeah, you can get one. You can get one tomorrow. FedEx next day air, and you're done. You've got the watch. But I think it is literally that way with any other type of Grail piece. So if you were looking for,
and I'm not
if you're looking for anything
Grail.
That's high end, if you're looking for stuff that's high end, you're looking for Rolex, you're looking for Lange, you're looking for AP, you're looking for Patek, any of those, it's available on the secondary market. You're paying through the nose, but it's there. You can buy it off of somebody's wrist for the right amount. So unless we're talking like piece unique or something that is a massively, massively limited run that's incredibly vintage, you can get whatever the current hype beast watch is. Any Cartier is just about available at this point in time. So the things I think that you and I are looking for go into a slightly different vein because they're not common. They're not ubiquitous. They're not really popular either. And I think it's also an aspect that you and I are a little bit clouded in our judgment because we spend so much time in this space that we think that the watches that we are looking for are much more popular than they actually are. So,
well, I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay.
I think we're fairly well aware of the rarity or the popularity of a particular model that we're after. Like in your 666 collection,
Yeah.
the Oceanographer G is a popular watch. You can find it anywhere, and you can find it at different price points. It's not hard to obtain one. But some of your other stuff, like your Accutron Deep Seas, that starts getting into a little bit more of a rarefied air. They
It
are
does.
out there, but
Well,
again, to
okay.
find one that's in good working condition because their tuning fork movements gets a little
All right.
harder,
So
and then you get into bezel conditions and things like that.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So here's
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay, so that's a V.
It's the V. But
Yeah.
this is a watch, and let's talk about this idea of if we're talking about the hunt or we're talking about the acquisition. Because this watch, it's documented in a couple different places. I've talked about it before. This watch I assembled from parts. And the watch that you see right now is not the watch that I started with
Mm-hmm.
completely, because I had a case. It was the wrong case. I had a dial. It was a different dial. I had a handset that was a different handset. I had a movement that was a different movement. And then I found a better dial. And then I found a better case and movement. Then I found a different bracelet. And so this watch has gone through iterations. This is the Theseus ship's version of the Oceanographer G. That you replace all of these parts, and yet it still remains the same.
Yeah.
But part of the reason for that is that at the time that I was interested in this watch, and that I was considering this watch, and that I wanted to buy this watch, it wasn't available to me at a price point that I could afford.
Mm-hmm.
They were going for $700 to $900 at the time, and there was no way I could spend that kind of money on a watch.
Which today is cheap for one of those.
Exactly. But at the time, and this was, what, 2016, nearly 10 years ago, this watch that you see here is maybe $400 worth, and that's in both iterations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've spent maybe $400 in parts on this watch to get it into the shape that you currently see. And the bracelet, which is not correct, but it's close, is one that you gave me. Like we traded bracelets for this one. So this watch in particular is one of those interesting things. Like for me, putting it together, making it correct, making it appear right, making it all of the things that I wanted, that I needed, that it was going to be good. That was more interesting to me. And now the story that this watch has, and the creation of this watch into something that is accurate for the time, and it's period correct, everything matches, because it only came out for 1 year. So it's a 1971 movement, it's a 1971 case. The dial was only made for that run, and it's a new old stock dial. It's like, okay, everything about this watch works, and it works like it's supposed to. And more than likely, I can let it go for what if it came from the factory this way, because essentially this is how it would have come from the factory. Is it a Franken watch? Sure. It was assembled. It did not. These are not the pieces that left the factory together, yet they are still period correct. So that makes it an interesting. And for me, this was all about trying to put it together, trying to get this watch for what would be a price point that I could afford. All right. Next one is this. Right. So the Snorkel K. And this is one of the earlier Bulova 666 watches.
What is that? 67, 68?
Yeah. And it's a great watch. It's a great dial. It's a great case shape. Everything about it. It's a very limited run. This one has some issues. The handset.
Bring it a little closer to the camera. There you go.
Yeah, we aren't going to get a good focus on it though. So the handset is wrong. Handset is for a Snorkel J, not the K, which is all right, fine. It's the same shape, but it should be black instead of silver. And so, okay, there's that. This one, I got it's not a new old stock bezel. It's just a better shaped bezel. When I had some cracks and some dings on it. But I remember seeing this watch, specifically this watch, was listed at $1,200. It's like, I'm not there. And then it moved around a little bit, and I think it was listed for maybe 800, and I put in an offer at lower that wasn't accepted, and then it fell off again, and then it was listed again at significantly lower than the price that I offered, And so I bought it off of eBay, and I know the seller on Instagram. He's like, dude, I would have sold it to you. It was like, yeah, that would have been a much better idea. We should have done that. So,
Well, I offered you and you didn't take it.
well, right, but this is the thing that gets me is like, the number that I offered him was higher than what I paid for it. And it's like, okay. And so like this is for my collection, I am running out of watches. There aren't that many. The ones that suddenly start to show up become a little bit more rare, a little bit more interesting, a little bit harder to find. And there aren't that many that are left, if we're going to be absolutely honest.
Yeah.
It might be 5 or 6, really. And that's without getting into the quartz stuff. So, and the stuff from the 80s that gets to be a little bit weirder and a little bit, it's more sketchy because it's a quartz movement, but it's an early quartz movement. So it's like, I'm not sure how well that's going to work and if I can even fix it. Because most of the stuff like this is going to show up not running. That becomes right. That's the next part for me, that I have also I've been doing this long enough and I know what I'm looking for, that my level of discernment has changed. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's the watch. However, condition, provenance, blah blah blah, it's not that great. I'm going to let that one go. I'll pass because I'm pretty sure that something better will show up.
It brings up an interesting question. You're running out of watches to buy because you collect 666 and you have a lot of them, and right, you just went through that. I'm running out of watches that I want to collect from Bulova. There's not that many models left that really truly appeal to me and the aesthetic that I collect. The question is, what do you do from here? For me, the answer is vintage Timex. What is your answer? What do you do at this point?
Refinement. I want to get the best versions because I started down this journey, and some of my examples are not great. Mm-hmm. They're not the best example of that you could get. There are flaws with some of those watches. And so now it's like, okay, get a better version of it. Something better.
Okay, so what does refinement mean? Finding a better completed watch or better parts in building on what you have currently?
It will depend, because I'm not an absolutist when it comes to watches. And I look at this from the same aspect that you see in the vintage car world. It's like, if you've got to replace a carburetor so that your car will run, okay, but it's not the one that the car came with. Yeah, but that one's trash. It's broken. It won't work. Okay, you need something new. Period correct. All right. Part number, blah, blah, blah. If it's coming from something that's going to be the same year, then yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing a movement swap if it's the same year. I'm okay with doing a bezel swap if it's the same bezel. So that's what I'm talking about refinement. So I purchased the blue dial, blue bezel Snorkel 666, and I got that for a great price. But the bezel had some flaws. Another one showed up for a better price. Bezel was in much better shape, but the dial wasn't. Okay. Pop the bezels off. Take the better bezel, throw the old bezel on the worst dial, and resell the watch. Worked out.
And if you do it properly, if you buy them right, you can buy the quote unquote parts watch, take what you need from it, and resell it. And basically, you're getting better parts for free.
So it's not like nothing that was going to be period correct at all. It's just coming from a different part. So.
So when it comes to the conversation of the hunt versus the acquisition, to me, that means the excitement that I get focusing intently on finding a specific piece, and that is all I am focused on at that point in time. And all my time and energy goes into finding that one. Then comes the purchase of the piece, and then comes the arrival of the piece.
It's the Schrodinger's box thing. It's like, is the watch inside this box going to be?
Well, no, not really. For me, the whole process leading up to that point is very exciting. It gets the adrenaline going. You know, the excitement is flowing. It comes and it's as good or better than what you expect it to be, right? That's what we all hope for. And I put it on the wrist and you enjoy it for the first week or two and until the next obsession comes. Then this acquisition goes in the box and it sits there quietly and you look at it every once in a while and dust it off and from time to time you put it on. But for the most part, it gets pushed to the wayside a little bit because I'm focusing on that next piece.
Right. It's
All
what
my time and energy is going in it.
It's all about the dopamine rush.
So for me, I live for that adrenaline rush of the hunt of the watch and hitting that button to buy it.
Do you? That's see, I'm
For
not
me,
there.
that's what it's about.
I'm
I
not.
love
That's
that
not me.
feeling.
That's not me. I am on the ability to take a look at, pull something out, and say yes. Out of my watch box, this is the watch that I wanted. This has ticked every box that I wanted for this acquisition. I have it now. Everything that happens from it from this point on is going to be part of my story. It is the idea that it's like, yes, there are things that I want to fill, and it's mentally in my head. I have a watch box with some open slots, and I need to fill those slots. So for me, I'm in the opposite end of that.
And that doesn't surprise me that you and I are polar opposites in this game. And I almost expected it to be, right? And it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the watches that are currently sitting in my box. I have spent a lot of time and energy curating this collection, and while they're all different pieces, it's a very specific collection in that they all fill the same design aesthetic.
Okay.
Right? They all share a lot of the same funky quirks and features in a different package. So they all serve their own purpose individually, but I'm okay if I don't wear them all the time. I'm okay if they don't come out of the box. I like to walk by and look and say, look what I did. Look what I put together. It's a box of history.
Well, see, but I think that's also really interesting too, because if anybody's ever seen a picture of your watch collection, and I've seen it in person, so I can speak to this, that Mike's watch collection is massively well curated. It is well displayed. He doesn't quite have museum lighting, but I'm sure he's thinking about it with the appropriate little down lights on it, and they're focused, and they're the right cone and all the rest of it. Whereas I think we have shown pictures of my watch box.
They're very haphazardly stacked on top of each other.
Haphazardly? It's not haphazard, sir. They are thrown in there. Yeah, okay. And there is no rhyme or reason to it at all. Like my watches right now, because when I went to go meet Watch Viking up in LA over the summer, so 5 months ago, okay, 5 months ago, I took a box. I took a full box, 26 watches. 26?
Okay.
28. I don't remember how many. It's 28.
I'm
it's 28.
Flashbacks of the time where you tried to count how many watches you had. Math is not your strong suit.
No, that's why I teach music. So I took a full box, 28 watches, and for the most part, a lot of those are still in the same spots. And you can't tell because they're covered up by another 25 watches that are laying on top of them, because I've got too many watches and I don't have enough watch spots. But my mental watch box, I still have some open slots. And it's a difference in how you look at what it is that you're doing. Like your curation is different than mine. You're looking for specific watches that fill a certain niche, like I'm looking for if it's got 666 on the dial, to the point that I have purchased some watches that should not be in my collection because the 666 was added afterwards, or it's not it's not period correct. But
Yeah.
and I don't think that I do the same amount of research that you do. I do a little bit more impulse buying just from the way that I do my searches. And that could be the case too. And I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong way.
And that's weird because when it comes to Boulevard, I do the research and we've done the research. We've done research for years, right? Like we can
Right.
buy stuff and not really have to research it because we've already done it.
Right.
I feel like if I'm truly going to go down the vintage Timex rabbit hole, I feel like a lot of these are going to be impulse buys because I'm going to buy what I like, what appeals to me visually, and not based on a lot of research that is done because I'm just beginning this journey. And that's
Well, I
how
mean,
it was when I started collecting Bulova too. My first few Bulova watches I bought purely on I like how it looks. I want to have that. Click the button now.
but right, that's how it works though. Like if you get into this hobby, you're getting into it for an aesthetic. I like this. I like how this looks. And then as you delve into it and you get deeper and deeper and deeper, your opinions start to change. And it's like, okay, I appreciate this better now. And it might not have met my aesthetic initially. However, as a student of the whatever, the brand, the period, the style, the however else you want to go into it, that is now a watch that I feel the need to purchase and hang on to. Like the Oceanographer G was that for me. I didn't like it initially. It didn't work for me. It didn't appeal to me. But the V
Really?
did. Yeah, didn't like it. I had opportunity to
But the
get
V
them a lot.
did. That's very
Right.
strange. What's
It
the
is.
difference between the two for you?
Well, one's
Because
orange.
other than the color and the day date complication, they're practically
Right.
identical.
But that is the difference, right? The orange dial versus the black dial.
Huh.
Real simple. And so, okay, cool. This is the one that I prefer. And then as you start to appreciate it, you start to research it some more, you start to look into it. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can love the black dial now. And so then I got a G. But like I had the V for years before I got a G. And then I started doing more research on it and realized like, oh, hey, look at that. The G has 9 different dial variants that are completely unknown.
So speaking on that, we'll sidebar a little bit here. Did we just discover another variant for you to catalog?
God damn it. Yeah, we did.
So we're not you're selling it, but you listed for another vintage watch dealer an Oceanographer G, which was what year did he say it was?
71.
And I looked at it and I asked you what the price was, and the price is fairly comparable to what I paid
it's a good
for,
price. It's a good asking
for
price.
my G. It's a good asking price for it.
Good asking price.
And it's the popular version. It's basically what the modern reissue was modeled after. The red seconds hand, the fat hour and minute hands, the full text, the Oceanographer, snorkel, 666, automatic, all that written on the dial. And I'm looking at it and I thought, maybe I'll offer him a trade for mine. Mine doesn't have the 666. It's a little rarer of a dial. It's got the different the handsets, the stick hands. And then I noticed the dial, and it's printed. The Bulova logo
it does not have the applied Bulova
rather than applied.
It is a completely applied stamped logo or stamped name of the watch, stamped Bulova on it. Which
and you and I and Oliver were talking about it, and we're all scratching our heads like, well, is this correct? Is it not correct? Is it a redial? And I had gone through and looked for some photos of other versions, and I came across one that was marked a 72 that had the same stamped Bulova logo. So I don't know. I mean, what are the odds that that's the same watch? I guess not, because that one was marked 72 and this one's 71. So, but I guess that's a later production variation where it's stamped and not applied. I don't know. It's the first we've ever seen that.
It is. And if we're looking at it from, let me pull up my spreadsheet here. We've got, I have it broken down. So there's an acronym that we use, and it's based upon the way that the printing is. So this is a BOSA6, and it is the Bulifo Oceanographer, and then there's a center pinion, Snorkel Automatic 666, and then you got the Red Lollipop standard hand stuff, and this one's available in 1970. Then you've got, here's the BAS6, Bulova Automatic Snorkel 666 feet, and it's available in 72 and 73. And after about 74, like those watches kind of cease. And I've got pictures that go with it, and we've got nine versions of it. And now I've got to add in number 10, because like, you know, whatever it is, there's the date version also that gets in here. So you've got some options there. And this is a new one. This is a new one. And it gets to go now. I get to add it onto the list.
So do you have a photo of it? Because I can share one here real quick.
Yeah, you I don't have it. I've got it someplace else. Yeah.
So right there.
And it's just that stamped logo.
And it's just stamped and not applied. And I'm guessing it's correct. I mean, is that what we're going with?
That's what we're going with.
It's a factory accurate dial.
Yeah. I don't see it as something weird. I don't see it as something different.
Maybe I should offer a trade.
I don't know what the deal is. Well, maybe you should. That's your call.
Yeah.
Your angel dial is nice. Don't get me wrong. Like the silver hands and the.
Yeah. No, I know, and I'm 100% certain that is accurate and correct.
I agree with you.
You know, so. Yeah, I'll just stick with what I've got. But it's interesting that we kind of uncovered that
inadvertently,
yeah. And it was just brought up like, hey, is that correct or not? And it just sparked the whole conversation of, you know, what it is. So that brings you up to, what did you say? 10 variants of that G dial?
10 variants of the G dial.
Which is funny to think throughout, you know, the production years, 10 different versions of that watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Bringing it back on track again. I don't know. It's the thrill of the hunt for me. I love the adrenaline rush of hunting down the watch, and as soon as I get it, within a week or two, I'm back at trying to find the next one. Yeah, that's just me. That's my personality. That's my addiction, right? There could be worse things.
Well, okay.
What are you looking at? I see you looking through your.
Oh, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that same watch. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got this idea of what our collection should be, and when you reach a certain activity within the hobby, you come to this understanding. It's like, okay, I need to get this under control, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's very weird collecting styles, and there's so many. There really is no wrong answer to collecting.
Right.
And that's what's fantastic about this.
Right.
And that's what I love talking to different watch collectors, because everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different reason. And it's just so fascinating. I find it very fascinating.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And I'm going to make it known here and now, because I'm starting to go down vintage Timex lane, does not mean I am done with Bulova. Okay. All right. It does not mean that I am done with Bulova. It just means that I have collected a lot of what I want from the catalogs of Bulova, and I'm happy with where I'm at. And until I find some of these other pieces that are on my radar, my collection will stay as it is, and I will focus on something different a little bit. Not because I'm getting bored of collecting, but just to keep things fresh. I think rather than vintage Bulova, I'm looking forward to what's coming, especially with the anniversary next year. And I think the next few Bulova purchases I make will be modern watches. So
All right.
take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, definitely for what it's worth. Definitely for what it's worth. So,
Any final thoughts on the topic?
no, I got nothing. You heard all my thoughts.
How about last calls?
No, we didn't have a
No.
football game, so I got nothing.
When does that start?
Football?
Yeah.
It's been ongoing. I've got another game on Friday. And then we have our last home game is on Halloween, the 31st. It's a Thursday.
Well, high school football ends that soon already?
Playoffs start in November.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, because they want to be done first week in December.
Seem really good. Well, so when did the high school games start? I haven't heard you complain
August.
about having to be there on Fridays lately.
We had September off. There were all away games and there was a bye week. So
Okay.
I've had games in August and I've got games in October, but we didn't have one in September.
Oh, okay. So it's been a bit.
Yeah, we're back into
Okay.
October now, and we've had one home game. It was a bye week or the away game on Friday, and we got a home game next week, and we got a home game on Thursday, and that's the end of our regular season. So it'll depend on if we go on in league or not.
Maybe I'm just out of it because my daughter is not in band anymore.
That could
So-
be the case, but also it's also the fact that I've been doing this for a really, really long fucking time.
And that makes me used to it.
Doesn't make you used to it, it just makes me used to it.
Oh, okay.
See, this is the thing that people don't seem to quite get. And it's a funny little bit that
I feel like I've been part of your journey for the last 5 years. So
you've been part of my
we're
journey
in
for
this,
a while,
We're in
but
this
you also
together.
yes, except but you've been part of my journey for the last 5 years. However, I have 25 years prior to that.
Well, those are the years that didn't count.
No, those are the years that counted. They counted drastically because when you start to recognize the fact that I've been going to high school football games since 1988, and I don't know that I may have missed 1 year in 1992, the fall of 1992. That was the only year that I didn't do high school football games. It's like it's been a minute. I've been doing this for a long, long while, and I'm good. Most people, high school football lasts for 4 years and you're done and you don't got to do it no more because either you graduate up to college or you don't. Okay, cool. Good on you.
I had 2 years of it.
See? Right. And you're good, right? You don't need to go back and do it again. You're not going to high school football games for fun. Okay.
No, nope. That would be a little weird, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's me. I get paid.
To be weird.
No, that's just a professional courtesy at this point in time.
Fair enough. Oh, goodness. Well, Joe.
How do we get in touch, Mike?
Well, today, you and we make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us, the springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
I am Watch Taylor Youth, EUPH, all one word. That's it.
That's it. So I will send you the white dial Yama yachting graph.
Send me the Yama.
I didn't make it through the entire mason jar mug that I have here, but I suggest that you make yourself some bourbon sangria. You and your wife will enjoy it. Oh, that's it. And with Joe's empty glass, it's time we bid you adieu.
Cheers.
Cheers.